Welcome back to Crossfire Perspectives. We're deep in discussion about the ongoing trade tensions between the United States and China, a situation that continues to ripple through the global economy as we sit here in April 2025. With me are Eric Thompson, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and Shirley Chen, Adjunct Professor of International Relations at Georgetown University and author of The Dragon's Reach. Eric, we've seen years of tariffs, export controls, and strategic realignments. From the U.S. standpoint, are these policies bearing fruit? Is the administration achieving its goal of leveling the playing field and protecting national security?
Stanley, absolutely. It hasn't been without friction naturally, but the long-term necessity is clear. For decades, the U.S. turned a blind eye to China's predatory practices. State-sponsored intellectual property theft costing American innovators billions, forced technology transfers as the price of market access, and massive subsidies that undercut American industries, especially manufacturing. These policies, while sometimes causing short-term adjustments, are fundamentally about resetting that relationship. We're seeing increased investment in domestic chip manufacturing thanks to the CHIPS Act, a greater awareness of supply chain vulnerabilities, and allies are increasingly aligning with our concerns about Beijing's economic coercion. It's about long-term resilience and fairness for American workers and businesses.
Shirley, a different perspective, I imagine?
A significantly different one, Stanley. What Eric calls resetting, many around the world, including numerous American businesses and consumers, see as disruptive and counterproductive protectionism. These tariffs function largely as a tax on American importers and consumers. While some niche reshoring might occur, the vast, intricate global supply chains haven't fundamentally dissolved. They've become more complex and costly. Furthermore, framing this solely as addressing predatory practices ignores the legitimate rise of China as an economic power and innovator. The U.S. export controls, particularly on advanced technology, are viewed by Beijing not just as protection, but as an attempt to actively contain China's technological development and economic progress. This fosters mistrust and makes cooperation on global issues like climate change or pandemics far more difficult.
Surely, with respect, you can't talk about legitimate rise without acknowledging the methods used. The FBI director has repeatedly stated the scale of Chinese espionage is unprecedented. We're not trying to contain China's legitimate growth. We're trying to stop the theft and unfair competition that undermines our growth and security. When a state actively seeks to acquire sensitive military and commercial technology through illicit means, you can't just call countermeasures protectionism. It's necessary defense. And the idea that this hurts cooperation, Beijing often uses cooperation as a bargaining chip anyway, linking it to concessions in other areas.
Eric, invoking national security is often the go-to justification for broad economic restrictions that harm ordinary people. The definition of sensitive technology keeps expanding, impacting sectors far removed from defense. And let's be candid, the U.S. also engages in intelligence gathering and seeks technological advantage. While illegal IP theft is wrong wherever it occurs, painting an entire nation's economic activity with that brush is inaccurate and inflammatory. Furthermore, these policies often hit American allies who are caught in the crossfire, forcing them into uncomfortable choices. China points to WTO rules and argues the U.S. is acting unilaterally, undermining the very international order it claims to uphold.
Let's talk about the impact on specific sectors. Eric, American farmers faced significant retaliatory tariffs early on. While there have been phases of purchasing agreements, has that sector truly recovered its footing in the Chinese market, or have competitors permanently filled the gap?
There have certainly been challenges, Stanley, no question. Agriculture was on the front lines, but the previous administrations and the current one have provided substantial aid to cushion the blow. More importantly, it forced a diversification effort, seeking new markets. While China remains a huge market, over-reliance was a vulnerability. The goal isn't just reclaiming market share under the old terms. It's ensuring future trade is based on fairer terms, without being subject to Beijing's political whims or sudden arbitrary blockades, which we've seen them use against other nations too.
But Eric, diversification is often a euphemism for losing access to the world's largest consumer market. Competitors like Brazil and Argentina did step in, and rebuilding that trust and logistical infrastructure takes years, if it's even fully possible. The aid package, while helpful, doesn't replace stable, predictable market access. This highlights how tariffs are a blunt instrument. They might intend to target specific state policies, but they often inflict collateral damage on unrelated domestic industries and workers. Beijing, meanwhile, frames this as evidence of American unreliability as a trading partner.
We're nearing the end of our time. A final thought from each of you. Looking ahead, is de-escalation possible? Or is this era of heightened strategic competition and economic friction the new normal in US-China relations? Shirley?
De-escalation is always possible, Stanley, but it requires genuine dialogue and a willingness from Washington to acknowledge China's legitimate interests and role in the global economy, not just view it through a security lens. Focusing solely on confrontation risks miscalculation and misses opportunities for cooperation on shared global challenges. Mutual respect is key, not unilateral pressure.
Eric. De-escalation requires a fundamental change in behavior from Beijing, abandoning unfair trade practices, respecting international norms, and ceasing economic coercion. Until that happens, the U.S. must remain vigilant, strong, and focused on protecting its economic and national security interests, working with allies to present a united front. It's not about seeking confrontation, but about demanding reciprocity and fairness. This strategic competition is likely the new normal, and we need to be prepared for the long haul.
Eric Thompson, Shirley, Chen, thank you both for bringing your distinct perspectives to this critical issue. That's all the time we have for Crossfire Perspectives tonight. Join us next week when we'll be discussing